So we've been making a lot of videos on how to make better videos, but we have all this camera gear and we've never talked about photography. So I think it's time that we touch on photography. I mean, how hard could it really be? A snake! So full disclaimer, I actually have never shot photography with the ZV-1. I may have done it a couple of times just to test it out. So I'm not even sure how to do it. I really don't see what could go wrong. Probably not gonna need 90% of the stuff in this bag anymore, but I did bring my homemade macro lens just in case. So I'm thinking that you just frame out your shot just like you would with video, and then you hold the camera still and you press the shutter button. Like I'm seeing this tree right here. I think it would be a really cool photo. I'm imagining it in a magazine of some sort, like a nature magazine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to stand still and press the shutter button, start movie. So I'm not even in photo mode. I was in video mode. I have to go find where the photo mode is. In fact, I'm not 100% sure on where that is. Oh, here it is. Okay, so we're gonna go with program auto because I'm not too familiar with how to do manual exposure yet, but everybody starts somewhere. So let's frame up our shot and then come up with. Doesn't look too bad. I can imagine that like in a magazine or the cover of National Geographic. Well, maybe I wouldn't go that far, but I am tempted to just shoot this in video and then go home and take screenshots of this. But we're not gonna do that because we wanna learn photography. So let's go on and see what else we can come up with in this beautiful forest. So I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too thrilled about that picture. I mean, it looks a little overexposed in the skies. I really don't think you would see it in a National Geographic magazine. But hey, let's keep on practicing and see what we can come up with. Here's something cool. Some of these beads in this pod, they have a lot of vibrant color. So let's get a close up and see what we can come up with. For some reason, this picture is a little bit blurry. Maybe I need a tripod. Let's go get our next shot. Maybe I'm just not the best at nature photography. I think I'm gonna start looking for some wildlife, like some bugs or something. Oh, a lizard. So this is something I know how to do. I'm gonna zoom up. I'm so used to pressing the record button. Here we go. I think I got a pretty good shot there. Why is it coming out blurry? I gotta look this up. So after doing some research, I'm finding that the lower your shutter speed, the more likelihood you are to have blur in your picture. So that was a problem because I set it to auto exposure and the shutter speed was down at like 1/20, 1/30. And because I'm hand holding the camera, it's giving me blur. Now I'm going to take the brave step of going into manual exposure and making sure my shutter speed is about the same length as my focal length. So I'm gonna be shooting at almost 70 millimeters. So I'm gonna make sure that my shutter speed is at 1/80. So I think those came out pretty good. I mean, our chances of selling to National Geographic are growing by the picture. Let's go get the next shot. I'm gonna make a compilation of the photos that I got from this shoot along with a video clip, and you guys can just let me know what you think you like better, photos or video. So now that I have this new information on the shutter speed, I'm gonna go back to that tree and see if I can get a better shot. Another thing that I found out is it's always best to shoot in RAW because then you can have more ability to color correct it in post-production. So I switched my camera to JPEG and RAW so I have both files to choose from when I get to post. Let's go back to manual exposure. And this time I'm gonna turn the ND filter on to see if I can try to lessen some of that overexposure in the sky. Like I said before, you wanna leave your shutter speed at least the focal length of your lens. I just brought the lens back all the way to 24 millimeters. So now I'm gonna turn the shutter speed to like 1/25. So it looks like even with the ND filter on, I'm still getting overexposed skies. So I'm gonna take one of my ND filters that I use on one of my bigger cameras and place it over this lens to see if that helps me better expose for this tree. For those of you who don't know, an ND filter is like sunglasses for your lens. Does anybody know if they actually make ND filters for the ZV-1? I'm also gonna underexpose this one so that I have more room to edit it in post. Another cool thing that I figured out when I was searching through the modes is the ZV-1 has something called Panorama. So let's try a couple of those shots and see how it works. Now that I'm into photography, I think I want to get into long exposure. So we haven't had much luck with the photography, but thankfully I brought my macro lens, which is basically just a nifty 50 flipped around, and I put it on the ZV-1. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave it in the description. So I see this cool leaf right here, and I'm gonna go up really close to it. Really good to have a lot of light on whatever subject you're shooting macro photography with. I'm gonna switch my shutter speed to 1/80 because I'm all the way zoomed in. So now that we have this new rule of thumb that we use with our shutter speed, let's go back to that bean pot or that berry pot or whatever it is and see if we can get a better, more clear, unshaky shot so that we can sell it to National Geographic. Here it is. One thing that I know for sure as a videographer, the lower your aperture, the more of a blurry background you get. So I'm keeping my aperture super low because I have a nice depth of field in the back, which is giving me that beautiful blurry bokeh. So I'm gonna conclude this video with this. Photography is a lot harder than it looks. Sorry I said it was so easy to do. There's a lot of things you have to learn with exposure and shutter speeds and framing. I mean, I think I need to go out, do my homework, do some practice, and then come back. And then together, we're gonna learn photography on this channel, along with filmmaking. So until the next video, thanks for watching. I'm Joe with Film Alliance.